So, welcome to this month's virtual content series brought to you by the FYI by Find Your Influence. My name is Rarale Abugo. I am a media personality, event host, and a senior account manager here at Find Your Influence. I'm excited to lead today's discussion around building your advocacy community in influencer marketing and why it's crucial for brand success and sustainability. So, a couple quick housekeeping items before we dive in. All attendee cameras are off and microphones are muted. So yes, we cannot hear or see you, so no worries there. We also will be welcoming questions during the webinar in the Q&A chat, and we'll be sure to address at the end of our webinar session. So now to the stars of the show, we are excited to introduce you to two of our guest panelists. First, we have Saheedat Abdul. Saheedat is a trailblazing influencer marketing expert who blends creative storytelling with analytical precision. With a history at Airbnb, Depop, and Google, she's honed influencer marketing strategies that garner millions in organic impressions. Passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion, she founded Black and Influencer Marketing, a platform dedicated to expanding opportunities for creators and professionals in the industry. Saheedat's journey is defined by her dedication to advancing voices and creating meaningful connections in the ever-evolving landscape of influencer marketing. Hi, Saheedat. How are you feeling?
Feeling great. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm super excited to be speaking on this webinar and sharing my knowledge and insights with everyone who's joining today.
Awesome. I love it. And so we also have Hiliana Devila. Hiliana is the founder of Adonai New York, a digital marketing and talent management agency. With over a decade of experience as a creator and digital marketing strategist, she expanded by adding a talent management division to her agency and publicly launched it in January of 2023. Hiliana has experience working in entertainment, music, and creator industries, cultivating communities that convert with a focus on authentic and purposeful storytelling. Hiliana, how are you?
I'm so good, so excited to be here and ready to drop some gems.
I'm excited. I just even talking to you guys before, I already know that there's going to be so much knowledge that is dropped during this webinar. So I'm very, very excited. Very excited. So influencer marketing can provide significant value to brands. A successful influencer marketing program centers around the heart of the program, which is, of course, influencers. Finding your advocacy community involves identifying influencers who values align with your brand and have an engaged audience that matches your target demographic. Saheedat, let's start with you. So for the first question I have, why should a marketer prioritize building out an advocacy community?
Thank you for that. So when we look at building out advocacy communities, we want to understand that marketing has to be based off of a funnel. So when you look at that funnel, you have to see it in terms of a house and building a proper foundation so that you're able to bring everyone down the funnel to do what you want them to do, which is ultimately purchase something. And that comes by having people who can really passionately speak to the brand's needs and also how it translates into the lives of the end user. So when we look at building out advocacy communities, it's important to establish a strong foundation with people who have a lot of word of mouth influence with their audience and can actually speak to their specific needs within their lifestyle. So someone may be drinking coffee as a mother, someone may be drinking coffee as an athlete, someone may be drinking coffee as someone who's a student, and someone who can speak to those benefits and how it helps them in their particular lifestyle is going to be important to translate that well through people who are real and have those experiences that are shared. So when you look at advocacy communities, it's important to establish that foundation first and foremost, and then you continue to build those layers in. So once it's known within this niche group and the subsets that come with that, then you're able to expand a bit more into like those higher rings of influence. So you go into more of those paid partnerships that bring larger awareness and have a bit more of a controlled message across. But Advocacy communities have been tremendously helpful in my line of work and working on the brand side and agency side in order to figure out which audiences can we start to invest in more. And then that also helps a brand grow with that creator's journey, because someone can be at 10,000 followers today, and in a year's time, they can have 200K followers. And this is the influencer that audience is primed and understands the product and understands that this creator is an organic fan of the brand, and you can pull the brand into that journey with the creator as their community starts to grow.
Absolutely. I love that. And Ileana, could you give us your perspective from the creator and talent management side?
Yes. So that was the perfect foundation that she just laid down, because after the brand does that work, then partners up with the creator, that's where we join forces, right? And so from the talent management perspective, we want to see ourselves in their story, right? We want to make sure that we are cultivating this purposeful community. We're already advocating for ourselves. I advocate for my talent. I refer to myself as an advocate rather than a talent manager. So in order for me to advocate well and to pitch brands or to even bring brands to the table, I have to make sure that my talent sees themselves in their story, and that it also aligns with both communities, right, that they're building. And when we see that brands are being intentional about who they have at their table when they are putting together these programs and laying down the foundation, it's more purposeful, more meaningful when the partnership comes along.
Absolutely. And so I want to go into the next question. So when we're kind of just trying to get into the more detailed level, so what criteria do you use to select influencers based on their niche? And then coupled with that question, how do you ensure it aligns with the target audience?
I'll take that one. So when picking the influencers and having a criteria based off of that niche, it's about understanding like what is inherently the brand's archetype person in the marketplace. So how would we describe the end user? And based off of the data, what does that look like? So if we know that our end user is Gen Z women who live in New York City, we need to make sure that that is the criteria that we use when focusing on the influencers that we're going to engage, so that we know we're hitting our target audience and expanding our reach within that space. Along with looking at more of the softer things outside of the data, it's looking at the content that they create and understanding, is this person brand safe? Is this person someone that is able to authentically speak to our product in a way that will cut through the noise with their audience, so that it's not just drowned. It's just not like one of a million brands that they're constantly speaking about, and it comes off supernatural, so that we can grow with their audience too. So those are some of the criteria, is looking at the numbers and also like more of the softer side of things. And in terms of brand safety and establishing that criteria, it's about taking things a step further to dissect that influencer's content and going through story by story for a week long to understand, is this someone that we potentially can bring into the fold and see sharing the brand message in a positive way with their audience? Or if it's not in a positive way, at least how are they giving brands feedback on their platforms as well, so that we can have a positive reciprocal relationship too.
Absolutely.
That was amazing. And then here I come, and what we do as well on this side is do research on the brand. So especially for pitching, what we do is we go to the brand, all of their platforms, see who they have partnered with, recently. What are they pushing out? What type of content do they like? What is their verbiage and messaging like? And then I then go to my talent and see if they have organically posted and mentioned the brand, right? Because you want to make sure that you are a fan of the brand before you approach them with like, hey, can you pay me, right? So what we do is like, I'm like, okay, perfect. This talent has everything that they're looking for. They have the community, they have the numbers, they have the content. I take all of that in my pitch, and I'm like, hey, so and so is a big fan of your brand and will love to work with you and be considered for future opportunities. We have seen that you currently launch a product which she currently bought and loves. Here is content that she has featured on her social channels, and then you link the media kit, and that's how you present kind of like a potential creator to a brand, is when, and then if they see that it aligns with their target audience and what they're working with, then we have a beautiful partnership.
Yeah.
And I'll
And
just add to that
oh, go ahead.
as well. That's amazing because on the brand side and agency side, we get pitched so much, and all of those pitches sometimes are just general blank, don't have any backing
Templated.
behind it. Just say like, oh, she's a fan of the brand. Like, okay, can you send me a screenshot? Because when it
Yeah.
comes to the teams, the social team has different access versus the influencer team. So we'd have to collaborate with the social team to go and look on the back end. But if you send me a screenshot, oh, she just talked about this product on Thursday. Like, this is amazing. Like, I can now act quickly and share this information around, and it would be easier for me to sell them through on this end and build that my own advocacy for them to the rest of the teams to ensure that this is someone that we bring into the fold. And sometimes it's about the cycle. Sometimes there's a cycle where we are only gifting people twice a year, depending on the product. And if one approaches in that outside of that cycle and has this like relevant information to share, becomes an easier way for me to just sneak someone else in outside of the cycle ultimately.
Oh, yeah, that is well, I love that brands even give creators an opportunity as well. So when a brand, any creators that are watching, when a brand does extend a PR opportunity, right? Take it, create content with it, then send them back that content that you have created and be like, hey, I really love the product. This is how I showcase to my community. You have to think about why you want to be in this space overall, right? Is it because you want to get a quick bag out of it? Or is it because you trust your community, you love your community, and it's a deeper reason there. So the talent that I work with, they are community girls, community builders. Their community is like their besties, right? And so they're like, I'm not going to bring or show a product to you that I genuinely have not spent my money on or genuinely love, right? So when we do partner with a brand, the girls go crazy. They're like, wow, this is a full circle moment. You've been talking about this brand for X amount of time. I'm so happy for you. And so the brand gets kind of like that push and that support, and also makes their money back because the community trusts that creator. So it's like it's a great win-win situation. So any creators that are out there, please be mindful of who you're pitching, the brand that you're pitching, and what is the long run? Is it like a quick one-stop campaign type of deal, or do you want to cultivate a long-term relationship and really build a meaningful connection?
Yeah. I hope everyone is taking notes right now because you guys are sharing so many insider secrets and tips that are so helpful and definitely should be implemented into whatever strategies that you are using as an influencer or as a brand right now. But you guys touched a little bit on this already, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper. So, how important is cultural relevance when selecting influencers, and how do you ensure that influencers are aligned with the cultural values of the brand?
For sure, cultural relevance, I feel in this day and age, like if you're not talking about the nuances of culture in your brand, like what are we doing? There's so many cultures and subcultures that we've been introduced to just through the internet alone, that we are able to share more representation and have that be more of a wide spectrum of things versus just like age, race, those are just the fundamentals. But there's other things that we should be looking at in terms of interest as well, to just understand like the different subcultures that come with pop culture essentially. And then as someone who's a diversity and equity and inclusion advocate, always trying to make sure that I'm not thinking in a silo. I be all these cultures are not monolithic, and you have to have voices coming into the fold to help have a checks and balance in these situations. So ensuring that there's an internal team that you can go to make sure that there is a bit of that checks and balance. If someone is more familiar with Middle Eastern culture, I would want to bring them in and just weigh in. Are these the creators that you have been following? Do you have any understanding around who they are, what they are? Are there any cultural nuances that need to be pointed out that I should be aware of as well, if they're touching on subjects that are out of my purview, but constantly be spoken about within their communities? It'd be great to understand how we can insert ourselves as a brand authentically in those moments so that it feels and comes off very natural versus me saying, well, I think that you would be great for this without doing actual proper research.
Yeah.
That's just insensitive and tone deaf. So
Yeah.
having those cultural values, cultural relevance is just about like ensuring that the internal teams reflect the audiences they're trying to reach so that we could constantly check each other internally before it
That's
goes
good.
out into the marketplace. And
Yeah.
then also making sure that there's an open dialogue with those creators to understand how can we best show up for them as a brand so that they are not left in the dark on how these decisions are made, because there are so many nuances and sensitivities, and even people with disabilities in those communities, there are certain things that I inherently do not know, but I'm willing to be taught about that. And I'm
Right.
willing to like learn and show up for them accordingly so that
Yeah.
it is more in allyship versus just performance based. And in ensuring that like we are aligning with those cultural values, I feel
Yeah.
like we're able to constantly push the bar and push the limits, because people have told me, oh, we just can't find these people. It's like, well, what does your team
Mm.
look like?
Yeah. Yeah. You hear that a lot. You definitely hear that a lot. And you hit it right, like the nail right on the head, especially when it comes to those cultural nuances, because I've heard it so many times just over my experience in the past 12 years where they are saying you can't find this person. And it's like, do you have someone who's actually familiar with this culture? Because I like to think of it as like, for example, when Twitter was popping, X is a weird thing right now, but when we were on Twitter and there's Black Twitter, there's Nigerian Twitter, there's South African Twitter, there's so many different Twitters. And if someone were to say, okay, everything is encompassed, for example, under Black Twitter, that would not be accurate if you were looking for someone who is maybe of Nigerian descent, of South African descent, of Ghanaian descent or something of that nature. So you really need those different people that are from that culture, or somebody who understands the cultural nuances between the different cultures, whether it be age, race, ability or disability, and things of that nature.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes,
Go on, Ilya.
and on the creator talent management side,
Yeah.
we see when a brand just wants to check a box, right? And I represent Black and Brown women, and we are not just a box to be checked on Hispanic Heritage Month or Black History Month.
Yeah.
It's like culture needs to be interweaved in all year round, right? But like you guys said, like you have to have people in the room that reflect diversity, that reflect inclusion. And if you don't have it, then it's your responsibility to go and outsource and find someone. Like we have too many resources nowadays, right? We have too many platforms nowadays to be irresponsible and not include like diversity, or bring people in, or hop on calls, or do market research. At this point, you just don't feel like it's important to have a diverse team, to have a diverse to work with creators from all different backgrounds, to also be loud and strong in regards to like where you stand, right? When it comes to certain things, and also say apologize, take ownership. Like, yeah, we didn't have shades, ranges for every person, but this is what we did to make it better. We respect that, right? And so on the talent side, when we look and research brands and we see that there's no diversity on your page, it's a no. It's a we will pass. And if you want feedback, we can book a call, and I can tell you why you need to change, you need to pivot. Like, and we're in 2023 now, and I feel like we have seen so many brands go through this at this point, that other brands can learn from those mistakes and create a brand that is inclusive and that has all shades, all cultures, and is rich, and there's depth, right? It's not just, oh, we want to sell a product. It's about community.
Right.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
To add to
Go ahead,
that point,
Saheedat.
like all of this is important, because at the end of the day, these brands are businesses. And when you have representation within these businesses, either internally as equally externally, then you're able to really get to that advocacy, organic advocacy, because people can see through the BS. They can understand like, oh, this is performative versus this is actual, someone who's looking to build an allyship, and that translates to more dollars, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
When we see Savage X Fenty partnering with marginalized communities and thinking about like LGBTQ creators, also
Mhm.
looking at people with disabilities. It's not just because, oh, this is fun. It's because they have large spending power. And to have that
Right.
included in these campaigns makes these ensures that these communities see themselves within the brand, and that translates emotionally to I want to purchase this because I
Mhm.
feel seen. And
Yeah.
when you do that as a brand, it's only up from there. If you ignore these communities, you're just leaving money on the table. So it's
Yeah.
important to have cultural relevancy across these different niches and
Mhm.
different communities in order to ensure that there's longevity in the brand's growth, because there's only so many people you can market to within one segment. After a while, they all know
Mm.
you, and it's how do you start to break through other segments and become known too?
That was such an amazing point. And so I want to go a little bit deeper into somewhat the metrics. So, how do you assess an influencer's community engagement to ensure it aligns with the campaign goals?
So what I do with my talent is after I gather information and see what the brands have been asking for recently, some brands are looking for conversion. They want to see
Mhm.
clicks. They want to see how much are you do you have a community that converts, right? Because they're
Yeah.
being more smart with their spending with their budgets right now. I feel like they have all these tools now that will let you know, like,
Right.
yeah, following is great, but if you have low engagement and you're not
Right.
selling, I'm not going to invest. And also, you have to honor that, right? Um,
Hmm.
so what we do is we sit down either biweekly or once a month
Yeah.
and go and analyze like what's your top content right now on each platform, right?
Mm.
Why? How have you converted? Okay, try adding links to your stories. Are you looking at those numbers?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So if this content performed well, we have those links, we have that data, your engagement went up. I can take all of that and of course
Mhm.
your amazing content and who you are, your personality, and sell you to the brand. When
Yeah.
being a talent manager is basically being a salesperson, right? I'm going to the brands and being like, hey, this is why you should work with my girls
Right.
because we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? So it's not just like
Mhm.
she has 100K following, you should work with her, but she can't sell not even 5 lipsticks. It makes no sense.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
if I come and say like, hey, she has a smaller following, but she has this engagement on Instagram, which is higher, and you have to know what's a good engagement, on the back end for Instagram. This engagement on
Right.
TikTok, this is how well her organic content has done, and her community loves this type of content. Here are the
Yeah.
numbers. You're coming in strong, right? You're
Yeah.
setting yourself apart. And so if your management team, or if you don't have a manager, but you are, doing this alone, take time to learn the insights, take time to learn the analytics,
Mhm.
because we're in this era right now with brands that great content does not cut it anymore, right? They
Oh,
want,
yeah.
unless they hire you for UGC, then
Mhm.
perfect. They'll hire you, to be a content creator. But if you want to be an influencer like a Monet McMichael, like you have
Yeah.
to really care about your community. You have to know how to sell, right? So if you were
Yeah.
in college and you have retail experience, it's time to dust off all
Yes.
those skills, right? And start and know how to sell in an authentic way, right?
Yeah.
When I speak to my personal community, I'm like, hey, y'all, I love this setting spray, or I love this. But look at my
Mm.
face, no filter. I'm a dry skin girly,
Period.
and they're like, now you're gonna ask me, girl, what foundation do you have on? I'm like,
Yeah.
let me tell you, here's the link. And
Yeah.
then if I see that, oh wow, they want me to share more like recommendations, I'm gonna take all of that data, go to the brand, be like, hey girl, I know you saw me tag you on stories. I saw you see me, mention you a few times in my content. And
Yeah.
the brand will be impressed with like,
Yeah.
oh, this girl, she knows where we're at, what we're doing. So
Mhm.
definitely keep an eye out in your emails. Brands will tell you
Yeah.
straight up what they're looking for, what
Mhm.
analytics they're looking for. Some brands actually require you to connect your
Yeah.
socials to a tracker. And so
Mhm.
you want to make sure that you're taking that seriously, because if
Mhm.
you don't take that partnership seriously, if you don't take creating content and community seriously, it will show in the results of that campaign, and it could
Yeah.
result into you not being hired again.
Right. Right.
So you really have to know who you're serving. You have to know what you're passionate about and work on your numbers, y'all. I'm always working with the girls. I'm like, hey, we got to get the engagement up. Hey, we got to get those
Yeah.
clicks up. What's another way you can, add this piece of this requirement that brands are asking for in your content. And we have to pivot, because they may be asking for clicks this month, the next month they're going to be asking for something else, and we have to start adding that to our strategy.
Yeah. Thank you. And Saheedat, on the flip side, when it comes to the brand, what steps do you take to assess the authenticity of the influencer and the connection with their audience?
For sure. And I think I was alluding to this earlier when it comes to assessing the influencer's page and the connection to their audience. It is about, I consume content just like everyone else. This is how I usually find some of the influencers that I've worked with and built relationships with through the years. I watch those stories. I'm watching from point A to point B. What's the connection? How is this person showing up for their community? Do they follow up with things? Like how does Monday differ from Friday? And really understanding how they're taking their audience through that journey. Say that, like, okay, this person's comfortable speaking on camera. They come on camera on stories. They may not post videos on their feed, but like they really shine through on stories, and understanding that influencer strengths and how they connect with the community, because everyone's going to connect with their audiences differently, and their audiences call them for that connection and intention for that purpose. However, as a brand, working on the brand side and understanding that we need to meet real people, we need to be introduced to real people on the other end of those audiences. We have to ensure that their communities are authentic, because in this day and age, there have been many ways that people have bought followers. They have done those giveaways in South Africa, giving away an iPhone or a Louis Vuitton bag, and that has helped people grow. But today, we have tools and platforms to really weed out like who those creators are. So one of the first steps is assessing that through some of the tools that we use. Creator IQ has been a really great tool for me. And then some, I forgot other names of the other ones, but ultimately they will share with you like what percentage of their followers are authentic. And one of the way that I have like the litmus test on that is that I look at like Kim Kardashian's audience versus and have that as like the benchmark for percentages. I believe 80% of Kim's audience is real. And if I were to go to a creator and I see that 70% of their audience is real, something's up. And we have to have some kind of margin of error in that, because bots are just inherently a part of the platform, unfortunately now. So making sure that we have a benchmark when weeding out audiences are real, number one, through the tech. But number two, if you've been in this industry long enough, you can check whose audience is real. If I see a bunch of no profile, weird names, user 345X things, or in the comments with just heart eyes up and down, then I can tell like, okay, this person has probably bought followers and bought their audience, bought their likes and engagement. So to take that extra step to just be cautious about who we're investing in, so that we're able to reach the proper community and service them accordingly, and award great behavior versus the bad apples that may be spoiling the batch overall. And then, like I said, it is important to really get to know like what creators we're bringing into these advocacy communities, because to my point, I work in tech. A lot of the times we have certain moments in the year that we're welcoming in 100+ creators all at once. Everything in tech is all about scale. So we have to do our due diligence to ensure that we are going to be stuck at the hip together in this relationship for at least a quarter at a time. And we want to make sure that we're hitting it with like strong KPIs at the end of the day. Each quarter is going to determine the kind of budgets I get for the next quarter or the remainder of the year. Never want budget to be pulled away because, the campaigns are not like working well. We need to work on this again. So that assessment is very crucial, and taking those steps is how we're able to then determine if this person's going to be a fit or not for the brand.
I love that. And I'm so happy you just really mentioned how remaining authentic is so important. I think I was mentioning to you yesterday, I had seen somebody where they create amazing talent, absolutely phenomenal content creator and individual as a person. And I think maybe sometimes that desperation can get to you when you're so anxious to get the brand's attention. So you're like, let me buy my likes, but let me buy my comments and that engagement there, as well as your audience. And I'm like, no, don't do it. We can tell. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. And so the consistency will really keep people long in the game, and also using those tips that you mentioned, Ileana, constantly checking your analytics, what performed well. My audience seems to gear towards this, and integrating that into your strategy moving forward versus going getting a little desperate and trying to get those inauthentic engagements and audience. So I love that you guys are just being so transparent about this and really letting all of our listeners know the ins and the outs. And so, Saheedat, I actually have and you know what? Actually, it would be, yes, Saheedat, I actually have a follow-up question here. So do you use social listening tools to identify influencers who are already advocates, and how do you leverage them? I know you already touched a little bit on social listening, but when it comes to identifying the already advocates.
For sure, that social listening is super essential in creating that like long list of influencers that we want to work with, because it is about awarding like the good behaviors, whoever is already organically talking about the brand in the marketplace, going in, doing the risk assessments and understanding, is this person essentially a brand fit as well, is going to be important. But definitely want to start off with certain social listening tools to ensure that we are awarding that behavior, and we're able to like cut through the noise with their audiences quickly and easily as one of our starting points, and continuously raising awareness. So when we do use those social listening tools, we are essentially looking to ensure that there is some kind of relevancy, especially if there's some relevant moment that just happened as well that we can act on and kind of build this like pop culture moment. I know you guys have seen a few things go on in the past with Alex Earl being stuck in Italy, and that wasn't a social listening tool. That was actually people listening. We're a team, and people catch things on social and are able to just have those conversations and see how can we effectively flip the situation and make it worthwhile for the creator, their community, and for us as a brand. So I think that if you are looking to do things at scale, definitely always use social listening tools. But TikTok is a search engine. It's free. Put your brand name in the search bar and filter it to the past 24 hours and get into the habit of doing that. And you'll be able to find these moments where you'll see the new influencers that are popping up. You'll see how the customers are currently using the brand, or what complaints and points of tension that they have. So then you can take that information back to your teams and leverage that as a feedback loop to ensure that whatever, and since I am in tech, that whatever product updates we're working on, whatever new product launches we're working on, we're able to have that vital information and use that in the next round and how we iterate the product and make it better for the end user.
Absolutely. And so, how do you measure the impact of influencer marketing in terms of building an advocacy community for your brand, or for the influencers and talent management side?
So, as it is in the business realm, everything is revolved around dollars. So we have to talk about when we are putting $1 in, we're looking to get $3 out essentially in the value. And that comes through what we call EMV, or media value. And so for each piece of content, we're tracking each influencer after we're gifting them to ensure that we know what conversations they're having with their community on social, and also from a community management standpoint to understand if there's anything that we need to raise further internally, so that we're able to know what was the value of their post. Those numbers, I do not calculate them. We have data scientists that know how to extrapolate those numbers and create a spreadsheet. So that is that's not something I can speak to. However, I can say that with the calculators and tools that we use, we're able to definitely say that Hiliana posted this story. The earned media value was $300. So each story that Hiliana posts is $300. Whatever, if her audience grows, that EMV number may increase as well. And when we put all of that together, that's what helps us go to senior leadership and say, this was the ultimate EMV of this gifting campaign. If we're able to make the 3x return and we invested a little bit more into this community and we want to do an IRL event, then it's an easier sell because we understand the impact of an IRL event. 9 times out of 10, everyone is posting from that event. And then there's even follow-up content that comes from that because we're equally building a relationship there. So it's very important to have some kind of metric involved and not no strings attached and no expectation for people to always post if you're not actively building a community. So finding ways that we can see what the ROI is and then reinvesting back into that community so we could continue to increase the EMV. And then ultimately, hopefully we're growing with the creators so much that their other influencer friends wants to join the community too.
Now that's amazing information, y'all. Take some notes.
Yes.
You're on the brand side, and on the talent management side, what we do is we know that brands are big on clicks, right? And on links. And usually a part of a campaign is a customized URL where they can also track how many purchases have been made, how many times that link has been clicked. And so what I advise our talent is to start using the like to know it's the collective voice, anything where you can on your end track what is your Amazon, right? Has that feature too, where you can track how many times that link has been clicked, how many times you have converted, content into sales, because you can also take those numbers to the brands and be like, hey, this is organic content that I just post daily, and these are the numbers on my end. So I think right now, instead of worrying about your following count, it's worrying about how much you can convert your community into consumers. Because that is what brands are looking for right now. It's like, okay, yeah, that's great. You have all this following, but again, maybe some of it is bought, or maybe some of it is because of a video went viral. But it's like, are they buying a product from you? Do they trust you enough? Or you're inside enough to buy something from you? And so on that side, y'all, if you're a influencer or a talent manager, try that on your end and take those numbers to the brand.
Absolutely. And Ileana, I actually had a follow-up question. So taking it back a little bit, but how do you check and monitor influencers' content is relevant to the audience and the brand that they are endorsing?
Can you repeat that question?
How do you check and monitor influencers' content is relevant to the audience and brand they are endorsing?
So what I do is I ask my girls who they want to work with. And then whoever they want to work with, they have already mentioned. So I ask them, who do you want to work with? And then they also send me a document of all the content they've had mentioned that brand. So that makes my job a lot easier. And I go in, I see how well that content has performed. I go and look at what the brand is working on right now, what they have launched. Are we on their PR list? Do they even know us yet? Right. And even if and then I go in and make the intro with all of that information. And I'm like, perfect, this aligns. She genuinely loves your product. Here is content. The content aligns with the content that you have on your page, on your platforms, who you have worked with in the past. Like, they appreciate that because they're like, oh wow, like know us. You made our job 10 times easier.
Absolutely.
Because talent, like, it's great to work with big brands, but if you're not a genuine fan, it shows in campaigns. I have seen campaigns that I'm like, this does not make no sense. Like, zero sense, right? But when we make a connection with a brand and they're like, sure, are you interested in attending an event or getting some PR, like, to see the influencer genuinely happy, like, wow, this is a full circle moment. I grew up with this brand back in high school, fast forward 10 years later, I'm still using them, and now they know me. So and your community loves being a part of your journey, right? So that's the kind of like the homework and the research that we do on our side. And so for the influencers, it's like be authentic with who you want to work with, and just love the brand. It's not all about money, right? If money is your number one concern, then you should not be an influencer. You should do it because you want to cultivate a community.
Yeah,
'Cause you're not gonna be
absolutely.
60 years old selling lipsticks. So what is like the long, like I always tell my talent, like, what are we working towards, right? Where
Yeah.
want to take this community? It probably starts off with
Yeah.
beauty videos or lifestyle videos, but they probably want to be a talk show host. Perfect. Let's
Yeah.
cultivate a community where they trust you so much that we can take this to a network and you
Mm,
end up being on TV and your community
good.
grows with you. And they're like, I remember when you were just doing YouTube videos and now you have
Yeah.
a show. We knew this day was gonna come. So you see, like, it's like, why
Right.
are you starting this community? So as long
Yeah,
as you are stick to your why and you're truthful and genuine and authentic. And I feel like now in the age of TikTok, a lot of people can definitely see who's being authentic and who's just faking it.
for sure. Absolutely. And so I want to be considerate of the Q&A because there's a lot of questions that are coming in. So I'm going to put this last question, kind of a twofold question together. And they kind of go hand in hand essentially. How do you organize and cultivate your advocacy community over time? And also, do you prioritize long-term relationships with influencers to build a sustained advocacy community? And if so, how do you go about it?
For sure. With organizing things, just working on the tech side, everything is talking about scale. How do we get more people? How do we acquire more users? How do we make sure people are aware of the brand? And that comes with understanding where our tentpole moments are. It's either gifting two times in the year. So working with that focus so that as we're looking to iterate and scale this, we're constantly going back and measuring what was the success of this program, which creators were actually fans of the brand organically, how many times did they post, what were they posting about, to start to understand, like, how can we service them more. And then the people who weren't as fans of the brands, and it happens at times, and you have to be super appreciative of those moments as well, although we want 100% of people to be fans of the brands and
Right.
organically want to share this information with their audience to service them. And it's not going to happen all the time. So using tools like some people use Grin, some people use Mighty Scout. There's also Companion. So those are some of the tools to constantly continue to like measure what is going on so that we can then see, okay, this community within our advocacy community are huge fans of the brands. They use this feature the most, and now we should go and find more people like that. That now we should add more influencers like this to our community so that it helps us continue to reach our bottom line. It is a business. I know we talk about relationships and influencer marketing, but we have to come with it with two minds at the same time. And understand, like, although you may love this working with this influencer, the audience may not convert, or they're not creating the kind of content that we want to put out there more. So have to constantly have evaluations and work in quarterly intervals, but also assessing if there are any like high risk moments going on, to ensure that we are protecting the brands that we're working with. And then in terms of prioritizing these long-term relationships, and ensuring that like there's a bit more of that sustained advocacy within the community, it is about reinvesting into the relationship. It can't just always take from the brand side, because you're not going to get much from that. You can only win so far. And I used to be in Hiliana's shoes and work on the management side. So I am 100% advocating on my end for how to properly build long-term relationships, and making it clear that we cannot give someone three times and think that they're going to post the fourth time for free.
Right,
And
right.
this is just going to magically continue to be the relationship here. We need to
Yeah,
understand there is methods to reward good behavior. So it
right.
may not always be about the monetary side of things. Money's one thing, but connections, the right connections and access is
Mm,
another thing. That is what leads
yeah,
you to like the long-term success and like the long-term
right.
game and money here, if you're looking to have longevity in this industry. So reinvesting in that relationship looks like us putting together a dinner. There may be an opportunity for these creators to meet. Although we like
Yeah,
everyone knows everyone because we're all on the internet at the same time. Some creators really are looking to network with each other, and if we could facilitate that
Absolutely.
introduction and
Yeah.
that like that relationship off of the
Mm,
common ground of they are fans of this brand, that goes a
mm,
long way. And that is
yeah.
also a way that we are creating spaces for people to like grow in their careers together. I've met influencers that have met at an event and just became work wives from there. They other content, they go on the brand trips together. If she's
Oh, I
invited,
love it.
then that's her plus one. And that's
Mm,
valuable because they will
yeah.
always put the brand at the center and say, this brand is who introduced us, and we're
Yeah.
incredibly thankful for them. And that
Right.
those are the ways that like we continue to build those relationships. And then even from the tech side, giving people early access to things, that
Yeah.
is important because who wants to be last to the party, you know?
Yeah.
Wants to know about the products last. We want to make sure that we're
Yeah.
giving as much information on the back end so that they're fully equipped to go and face their audiences and share that information and also have that one-on-one connection with us so that they're able to come with any questions that we may not even thought of. Like
Yeah.
we're all human, we're not perfect, and having a long-term relationship requires a lot of communication. And this is what we did well, this is what we can improve on, and continuing from there, just humanizing it as much as possible and ensuring that it is a reciprocal relationship so that it's never just a take. It's about how can we reinvest in each other as well.
And Sahita, that point that you made, especially about like allowing the influencer to meet in real life and creating these spaces where they can really network and partner, I definitely would say I 100% agree with you. Not only because I've seen it, but literally I've seen it with myself. I was invited on 2 brand trips, and one that I was invited to, I brought another influencer, and another brand trip, I brought another influencer because I was able to have a plus one. For both brand trips, they paid me. However, they did not pay my friend, but in both instances, she created multiple pieces of amazing content, shared it all over her different platforms, made sure she cross syndicated it across the board. And even in another instance, I'm a maid of honor, so I cannot go on a brand trip, but I was invited by Hilton to this Bermuda brand trip, and I recommended another influencer who fortunately was able to do it. So creating these spaces where you allow influencers to meet each other, network, kind of become these work wives goes such a long way, especially if you're still maybe even dabbling in that in-kind stage and trying to feel people out, but a lot at least providing them with additional value outside of maybe a PR kit. But the opportunity to essentially make these connections.
Exactly. An introduction goes so far.
For sure.
And having that introduction like come from the brand side and say,
Yeah.
oh, Hiliana, meet Raro, she's amazing. You take
Yeah.
that to heart more than anything versus like
Yeah.
someone randomly at the bar saying, oh, meet my friend. You're like, who's that
Yeah.
friend? Get her away from me. So
Yeah.
it's the little things.
Yeah, you guys have shared so many gems, and what has helped me in not only in the being a creator, but also being a talent manager, but also being like a digital strategist,
Yeah,
is that your network is your net worth,
for
right?
sure.
And it's just like people, and at the end of the day, people will do business with people that they like.
Mm-hmm.
And so relational equity is worth so much more than a one-off campaign. And so I'm a people person. So I love getting to know the person behind the brand, because you never know where they're going to end up. They might start at this, level with the brand, and then God may take them 10 times up. They might become,
Yeah, yeah.
someone that can actually open the door for you. And so it's
Right.
also, like you said, it's not a take from the brand, because brands are
Mm,
being asked for things every single day. It's knowing, like, it's kind of being attentive to like what their needs are, like follow up. Hey, what are you working on? How can I support you? If it is
mm,
like, hey, I'm the one behind this campaign for this product, can you just show some love? If I send you a PR cam, like, sure, girl, no worries. And she will keep you top of mind when there are paid opportunities, right?
yeah.
But also she will keep you top of mind if she goes somewhere else. So she's like, girl, because you have supported me and we have now a personal relationship, you're going to be the first person, instead of like the biggest influencer out there, that they're going to be like, I need to bring her on this trip. I need to have her at this dinner, introduce her. Like, relational equity is going to get you so far. And so if you're in it just for the money, you're going to hit a ceiling. But if you're in it because you are here for community, and community is not just your community on social, but growing and getting to know the people that you want to work with, right? Wow, you're gonna expand your territory, and you're gonna like, well, you know what? Knowing this person is worth more than this one, campaign. What we do, and because we take that to heart, and that's how I've seen success, relational equity is how some of my talent have 3-4 month partnerships. And alone, it's like, why do I need to secure a partnership this month when I can secure a 3-month partnership in your set for the rest of the year?
Right.
And then we could start, then after that, we could start talking about Q1 and Q2 of next year. And we have those 3 months to get to know each other very well, because we're going to be going back and forth in emails. And then also saying a thank you to these brands, after you're done with this campaign. And that goes a long way. Not just like, okay, thank you for the money. No, but thank you for being kind. Thank you for assisting us in, getting this campaign to the finish line. So it really is just like, where is your heart in this business that you're cultivating, right? So if your heart is where your pockets are, then this is not the business for you. You might make a few bags off of it, but you will not go far, right? Unless you are a community person.
Absolutely.
And to add to that point about like, if you're just in it for the money, like there are cycles where we can actually cut those checks on the brand side. It's not every day we can just say, oh like we're sponsoring every single person. There's campaigns, there's thought that goes into these campaigns. They're planned like minimum 3 months out. So there's a lot of conversations internally to get certain creators approved. And like, I'm maybe going to bat for you this first time and it may have struck out, but the next time I go to bat for you, make it easier for me to go to bat for you. Make it something like, I need to take this to my chest and say like, this is the creator we need for this campaign. So that other people can feel my passion as well. So it is about that relationship. It's not going to be about that like quick check here and there and like cash out. It's going to be about who can actually cultivate long-term relationships and get into the heart and minds of the marketers on the other end, as we're in these cycles to get to our campaign completion.
Absolutely. Hiliana and Saheedat, thank you so much for sharing your insights and knowledge with us. Audience, it's your turn. If you have questions, feel free to ask away in the Q&A chat. For those who have already, let's dive in. And I saw quite a few questions coming through. So the first question I am going to highlight is from Caitlin. How have you seen influencers work well with with service-based industries versus products? It's a bit of a different business model as it's not as immediate to close the sale.
When we think about service-based business, I would love to get clarity on like what kind of services we're looking at. I feel like almost everything is a service, but of course there's differences in like full-on products as a service, that like you buy this, you get this phone in return. However, when it comes to leveraging influencers for that, it's all about word of mouth sales, and it's all about understanding like, how does the story of this service slot into someone's lifestyle? The service could be housekeeping service. I think that we saw the example with everyone's favorite influencer, Danielle Bernstein. We Were What, she was posting about her house cleaner, and her house cleaner was able to find clients directly from Danielle posting about it on her page. And that was a service that like it only was able to thrive through word of mouth. And I think that influencers just create that like megaphone for the service to be broadcasted, and then within the right context and how the influencer inserts it into their lives can resonate with their audience that may be similar to them, and then they can say like, okay, this is going to be wonderful for me. So it could be that service-based businesses have a variety of reach as well. So it could be something that is hyper local. It could be something that is solely based on the internet. It's just really about how authentic can that story be, and how can this influencer make sure that it resonates with the hearts and minds of their audience. I always want to say the hearts and minds, because it could be logical, but it just may not be heartfelt. But if it's heartfelt and logical, oh, you're seeing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So some of the girls on my end, we do work with service-based businesses, and it depends on the story that they're telling right now on their socials. So one of the girls is engaged and she is getting married. She's sharing the journey of her and her fiance, like putting together, you know, their wedding. And so we are currently working with like spas or vendors of like, how can we interweave this into her story where it's like, this is a need that she has, and how can she promote your services? We also, when she gets her hair done, right, she has the same hairstylist, so it's going and capturing that reel and saying like, hey, so at today's visit we are working on this color because this is the color I want to be for my wedding. And then if we make sure to tag the location, make sure to tag the service provider if they have a promotion going on, or like they give, or if you use my name at the door, you'll get 30% off. And that helps, right? Because if you have a community that trusts you and knows that you are, I mean, you're getting your hair done or you're going to the site, you really love it, and you're going there repeatedly as well, then you are bringing more customers that are buying and are probably gonna be return customers and loyal, especially the girlies. Like if you're like, listen, this is the only girl that touches my hair ever. Like, I'm not going anywhere. And so if they see that you're loyal to her, we are loyal to the girl who does our hair, our nails, our brows. Like you're going to see the same girl monthly in my stories, and I'm going to tag her monthly on my stories. But I also love investing in small businesses as well. So that's another way that you can work with a service provider, you know, as an influencer. Is like, I look for black and brown women who have their own like brow studio, hair salon, nail salon, and I'm like, oh, she's a girly that is thriving. I'll invest in her business, and then if she has a new service, she'll probably give it to me in exchange for promotion, or give me a discount in exchange for promotion. So that's a way that you can work with service-based businesses, and I have seen their business boom after that. So I would definitely, maybe if you are the service, you know, based business, do your research, just how a brand would do their research, and find the girl or guy that you're trying to target.
Absolutely. And so what are three things you would recommend to any influencer to do just a bit more for any brand they are working with in order to help build that connection with them for a long-lasting partnership?
Goes back to what Hiliana said. A simple thank you. Thank you for like being an amazing partner. Thank you for just communicating everything, and ensuring that you're showing up fully in that partnership as yourself, and creating the best content that you can create for yourself and the brand. Try and push the bar up a little bit more and more each partnership. I think that's very important. And I also find that with a relationship building segment of things, it's about checking in. Just don't like get paid once and then just forget about that brand. Try and check in, try and see how that person's doing, see if you could grab coffee with each other, find out like, as a human, who is this person? How can I be of service to them in their life too? Sometimes it is about making those connections. I find that when I was working on the management side, I would try to bring some of the brands that I worked with to other events, not competitive events, but like if this is a fashion girl, maybe I bring her to a beauty event with me and invite her that she can have a night out away from the screen as well, because everyone is working hard and want to make sure that people have variety in their lives. And those are some of the ways that I found that you can build a deeper connection, but it's just about the ultimate professionalism in that partnership, being respectful and tasteful in how you engage the brands, and also understanding that a thank you goes a long way.
Absolutely. And so I want to see, we have another question, but one thing that really resonated in your last answer, Saheedat, was remembering that human element. I think in a day where we're AI forward, we're so concerned with the processes, and of course processes are important. I think sometimes there's a little bit of a lack of the human element to remember that there are humans behind this. So I love that you really highlighted that. So somebody asked, and I'm not familiar with the calculator, but I'll just say general calculators. But do brands actually use the calculator or other websites that check user engagement rates to check engagement, or do they rely on media kits? I think I already know the answer, but I will give the floor to you too.
It is going to be more about like the hand calculation, because whatever the current engagement is, it's going to be the engagement that we're really taking on.
Yeah.
Because your historical engagement, I don't know when that media kit was updated. It may not tell the current
Yeah.
story and like how it currently works with the business. So there
Mm.
are some calculators. I mentioned Creator IQ. I swear it's not sponsored by them, but like it's been a great tool that does have the engagement rate there. But with my teams, I always push for that further step to understand what is the current engagement so that we can make the call from there.
Absolutely.
Likewise, I use tools to check the engagement for all the girls to make sure that's accurate, because that's probably the same tool that the brand is using, just to make sure that we're being truthful in our pitch and in our
Yeah.
numbers.
And plug but no plug. Find Your Influence also, we are able to calculate your engagement rates there. So that's also an excellent tool that you can use with the platform. But that is all we do have time for this month's the FYI content series. A big thank you to every single one of you guys who joined today. And of course to Saheedat and Hiliana. Thank you ladies so much. You can find Saheedat on IG at It's Saheedat and on LinkedIn under Saheedat Abdul. Hiliana personal on socials under Hiliana Devila, and Adonai NYC on all socials under Adonai NYC. So I am very excited to announce to all webinar attendees, there is a 10% annual subscription discount to new FYI clients, and we will include the details in the webinar follow-up email. This is a major deal, so you guys want to make sure that you jump on it. Additionally, we invite you to continue the conversation on our Facebook and LinkedIn groups under the FYI by Find Your Influence. Join us Wednesday, November 15th at 9 a.m. PST as we welcome Pinterest on our next live content series. We will discuss Pinterest strategy for brands and creator-specific sessions to be announced soon. Well, that is it for today. Have an amazing afternoon. And if you're already off for the weekend, have a great weekend. Thank you guys so much for joining. Bye, everyone.
Bye.